dawn is breaking. It's early morn, the taxi's waiting. He's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonely I could die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we are checking out Leaving on a Jet Plane by John Denver. What a beautiful song this is, and very simple, a great beginner song if you're just learning your G, C and D chords, because there's a repeating pattern for the song. It's a bar of G, a bar of C, another bar of G, another bar of C, another bar of G, another bar of C, and then 2 bars of D on the end. G, C, G, C, G, C, D, D. Very easy pattern to remember, and it's that way pretty much for the whole song. There's a couple of points where it stays on the D a little bit longer, so if you're playing it and you reach those sections, you can just hang around on D for a bit. If you need a little rest or you've forgotten the words in the next verse, you could also hang around on the D a little bit. It's also a nice grower because we can play this real simple. It's a great one for working on the Old Faithful strumming pattern with just the pattern lasts for 1 bar, that, you know, it follows the changes real well. Or you can apply the fingerstyle pattern to it, which is, if you're learning fingerstyle, it's a nice one to learn as well. So we're going to go through all of those different approaches. But first of all, let's just check out how that chord progression fits with the lyrics of the song. So we're actually going to start there with a D chord. There's lots of guitar layers at that point. So one of the guitars is playing a D. There's a bit of sus4, a bit of sus2. You can experiment with those. I think there might even be nice little D add 9 sitting in there, but it's hard to tell with so many layers. You can just stay on a D and make up some variations. The important part, the sequence, starts when we hit the verse. So it starts on the G. All my G's are packed and I'm C to go. I'm G'ing here out C a door. I G to wake you, C to say good D. There's the 2 bars there on the D. I'm just doing 4 down strums to the bar, obviously. But the G is breaking. It's C chord known. The G is waiting and he's seeing his horn. G chord, I'm so lone. C, I could D for 2 bars. Little sus if you want. So G, me and C for me. G, tell me that you'll see for me. G, be like you've C chord, let me D for 2 bars. 'Cause I'm G'ing C a jet plane. G, back again. G, oh C, I hate to D for 2 bars. And you can see from that little example why I chose to sing it down an octave there. I've actually got a cold as well, but singing it in that register is just atrocious for me. If it's the same for you, if you find that it's either real low or real high, which this song is a great example of that for me, the trick would be to find another way, another place for it to sit with your voice. For me, capo around 4th or 5th fret sorts the problem out straight away, because it means that it's low, not to sound kind of weird, but high enough that I don't have to really struggle to try and get the silly low notes. So that might be something to check out if you find John Denver's range is different to your own. I mean, he's got a beautiful voice that sits perfectly for him. It definitely doesn't for me. So some of you might find the same thing. I always feel like this range is more suited to a female vocal, actually, but I guess it just depends on the range of your voice. So Your first step, I think, would be getting the chord progression under your fingers, making sure you can play it in time without stopping between the chords, because you don't want to be going, so kiss me and smile for me, tell me that doesn't work. So you need to practice it slow enough and carefully enough that you can make the changes while you stay in time, even if you're just strumming once per bar. Another really great beginner trick to be able to play the song and play along with the record, even if you wanted to, would be to kiss me and smile for me, tell me that you wait for me, hold me that you never let me go. So changing well early. But because you're just strumming on the beat, you're working on getting those chord changes for the one, which is the important place to get your strum exactly on time, will be beat one. So that would be first step. Second step would then be strumming all of the down strums, as I was doing there in the little demo. So just literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Really good exercise that anyway, just practicing. It's more or less a chord change exercise if you're practicing G to C. I should point out as well at this point that I'm using the standard grips here, but it would be totally cool, for example, to use big rock G if you're further along, depending on where you are on my beginner's course. If you only just encountered G and C, you won't know about this yet. I'd wait on it for a little bit until you discover these other options. They're all part of the course, but they're in a nice sequence, so it'll kind of build on things. But you could use big G to C add 9 there, leaving on a jet plane. Obviously it's a lot easier, and even the D chord is easy because the third finger can stay down as well. So you could use that. You could use G with the third and fourth fingers would also be a nice one here. So G like that, and then going to C chord, G with the third and fourth fingers, and C chord. It's a really good change because the song's mostly G and C. It's a great song to practice your chord changes in. So you get, chord change practice with a bonus song. So the strumming pattern that works really, really well is the one I call Old Faithful, which is down, down, up, down. This down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. On the intro, using Dsus 4 there. We'll talk about that in a second. Then all my bags are packed and I'm ready to go. Standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye. So strumming it is a really nice thing to do. If you do decide to do the fingerstyle version, which I'm going to show you in a second, a nice thing to do is to do fingerstyle for the verses and then break into that strumming pattern for the chorus, because then you get that real nice kind of lift into the chorus, which really works great for the listener. So let's have a look at the fingerstyle pattern now. It is quite an easy one for beginners, but if you've never done any fingerstyle before, you're probably going to find it tricky. So I would recommend checking out the beginner fingerstyle exercises in my beginner's course before you have a go at doing this one. In the course, we look at fingerstyle in 6/8, but this is a lovely one for 4/4 time. There's going to be 8 picks in each bar. So let's get to a close-up and I'll show you how to do it. Let's have a look at what's going on here. So thumb is moving between the thicker string and the fourth string. That's going to be the hardest part for most beginners to get to grips with. The pattern is thumb, first finger, which is going to be playing the third string, thumb playing the fourth string, and then second finger playing the second string. Thumb, 1, thumb, 2. That's the pattern. Thumb, 1, thumb, 2. Now, if you can't see it behind there, I'm anchoring my little finger down on the guitar body. Now, I don't do that all the time because my little finger is very short and it makes for quite hard work for me if I'm doing anything more complicated than this. But for nearly all beginners, I'd recommend you use your little finger as a little anchor just resting on the guitar body. It'll help keep your fingers picking the right strings, especially when they've got to move like that, your thumb bouncing between 2 strings. So when you learn a pattern like that, you want to just start by just talking it out loud, going thumb, 1, thumb, 2. Thumb. Get it right more than worrying about trying to get it fast. Okay, just like this. Thumb. Think about it. First finger, yeah, it's on the right string. There's thumb. Second finger. This idea of getting things right is really, really, really important. what you're doing when you practice something like that is you're programming the muscles in the order that they have to go in. And if you get the code wrong lots of times, your brain kind of has a bit of a muddle. It'll start to send something out, realize it's the wrong one, have to withdraw it, then send the right messages. It gets really complicated. It's like writing code. It's a lot easier to write it correctly the first time than write it real quickly and have loads of bugs that you've got to go and fix later. So when you're practicing a pattern like this, please, please, please do it really, 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 really slowly until you absolutely know it, and then just speed it up a little bit at a time. If you make a mistake, stop, knock the tempo right down again and start practicing it until it's just what you're aiming for. With fingerstyle is automation. If I'm doing that pattern there, I can talk about it. I could talk about chest openings. I could talk about whatever else. I'm not even slightly concerned or aware about that fingerstyle pattern. It's just going to do it by itself. It really, that's the aim if you're doing a fingerstyle pattern. Because if you're thinking about chord changes, you're thinking about the lyrics that you're trying to play, lyrics that you're trying to sing, being in tune. There's so many things going on when you're performing. The thing that you can't be thinking about is the finger picking pattern. So you have to practice it so it's automated. It's one of the biggest and most important parts of learning that style, learning to do finger picking, is the repetition until you can distract yourself. And it won't happen straight away. You have to do it slowly, concentrating, get it right. Once you've got it right, then you can start to just not have to stare at it, and you can get the tempo kind of going evenly. Then maybe just try and distract yourself a little bit and see if you can think about, I don't know, what you're having for dinner or whatever, just little things, and then go back to it. If you make a mistake, your attention will be immediately drawn back to it anyway, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But it really makes a big difference to deliberately trying to distract yourself once you've got the pattern correct. If it's not correct, you should not be distracting yourself. You should be getting it right, okay? So nice and slowly, just getting the pattern right. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's the rhythm. So there's 8 picks in each bar. So you do G twice through that little pattern. Then when it changes to a C chord, the only thing that's changed is that the thumb is now going from the 5th string to the 4th string. 5th string, 4th string, 5th string, to G, to C, G, C. And that's got to be the next thing to practice. Nice and slowly getting it right. Just loads and loads of repetition is what you're after here. I used to do stuff like chess puzzles and things while I was practicing fingerstyle patterns. It's really good. Like, you can't do it straight away. There's too much going on. It'll take time and practice. But it's just like driving a car. Like when you first learn to drive a car, you have to really concentrate on the gears, hearing where the engine's at, pressing the clutch down right, not letting it back out too quick so it doesn't jump around. No different. Like I haven't thought about changing gears in a car for a long time. Well, I drive an auto now, so maybe occasionally I have to think about it if I get stuck in a manual car or if I'm racing or something. You get the idea. You're just practicing that pattern. Now, the next chord, D, slight change in that it's the same as C, but everything's moved down a string. So there was C, all of the middle 4 strings. Same pattern for D, but we've moved down onto the thinnest 4 strings. Okay, so again, you might want to practice a little bit just on that D chord, because it feels a little different. Just trying to feel this texture of the strings, trying to not let your fingers grab. I play with flesh now. I used to use fingernails a long time. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you what feels comfortable for you. Once you've got that, then have a go at doing that pattern. G to C, G, C. Making sure you get it right. If you're going to go wrong and you're not sure, see if you can slow it down. Slowing down or stopping is better than getting it wrong. Okay, so much better to be, hang on, where is it? There we go, that kind of thing if you're not sure. That's not to say that you can't do variations of it, and I do find sometimes the last note before a chord change, I would leave it out. So I guess it's a different pattern. The reason for leaving it out is just because we've got the chord transition. Sometimes it can make it feel a little bit kind of fumbly if a note kind of doesn't ring out true for long enough. So by just leaving out that last eighth note, the last note of the bar, which would be played with the second finger, if you just leave that out, it can kind of smooth out the transitions there a little bit. So let me just play through verse and the chorus there so you can see the fingerstyle up nice and close. So here we go on D. This is serving as the intro. Then we're on G. C. That's leaving that note out at the end. I'll do all of them in the next round. Then to the G. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is the Dsus chord, which we get in the intro and in the end of the progression each time. It works particularly nice with the fingerstyle, just having the D. It's just a little finger going down, third fret of the thinner string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So it's coming off again then. It's going on the end after 4 and off on the end after 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, D. On the intro, fairly sure it's got the second finger off, which gives us a D sus 2. So D, sus 4, D. It's not that specific pattern, I should say, for the intro or the bridges parts. It's multiple layers on the original recording. While we're on that kind of multiple layers thing, if you're playing this with someone else, one of the things you don't want to do is to try and play exactly the same as them, because it can sound really wonky. Actually, it can also sound really cool in that it'll sound like a 12-string, because I'm pretty sure John Denver often used a 12-string guitar for this. And if you have two guitars both doing the fingerstyle pattern together, it will, if you play really well together, it might sound like a 12-string. If you don't have your timing exactly right, it'll just sound wonky. So if you want to give it a lot of practice, that could work. A more realistic and I think a sensible approach would be to do very different things. Now, for example, one guitar might do fingerstyle all of the way through the song. The other guitar in the verses would just do single strums, which you hear on the original recording, and it works lovely, just having this and I'm ready to go. These single strums with the finger picking pattern at the same time works really nice. Just having that simplicity, and then maybe for the chorus you go into the big Old Faithful pattern, and the other guitar would do fingerstyle all of the way through that. This blending thing, particularly two acoustic guitars doing that, will sound really, really nice. Like I said, doing exactly the same thing can end up sounding a little bit sloppy. It can sound really cool, like this 12-string effect, but you really have to be practicing hard to do that. That's even sometimes a bit of a challenge if I'm doubling my own parts to make it sound like a 12-string. And when you're playing it with someone else, you have to be right in the pocket together and picking the notes at exactly the same time. So as you can probably see by the length of a lesson, for a song that just goes G, C, G, C, G, C, D, D, there's quite a lot of detail that you can choose to get into or choose not to. If you're a real beginner and you've watched this far, I do recommend that you start simple. Play along with the original recording, just single strum for the bar, making sure you get the strums on beat 1, then graduate to experimenting with other strumming patterns. Old Faithful works great, but you could use any other strumming patterns you like. It's a nice one to experiment with strumming patterns. If you want to try out the fingerstyle, you can get into a little bit of fingerstyle. You can work on transitioning from fingerstyle to strumming in the chorus. You can work on 2 guitar parts, playing different things. There's a lot of fun stuff with this. A lot of people love this song. It's a really lovely one. Like I said, if you find the range odd like I do explore the capo as well. I really hope you enjoyed our session together today. If you happen to be over on YouTube, I really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Hit the bell if you want to get notified when I'm going live or doing a Q&A session. Hit a like for me is always appreciated. Let me know in the comments what other John Denver songs you'd like me to check out. And do remember, over on the website, I've got a whole beginner's course, beautifully structured with songs that tailor for every lesson. And all of the songs are laid out by difficulty, so you can pick what chords you know, and it'll tell you appropriate songs and all that sort of stuff. So do go and check that out. There'll be a link in the description. If you're already over on the website, thank you. Hope you're having a fine old time. I'll see you for plenty more lessons very soon. You all take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.